The story starts with the scene of a brutal battle. A battle between humans and monsters, and it looks like the monsters are on the winning side. Our hero stands there as the last man standing. Beside him is a wounded girl who is most probably still alive. The monsters have surrounded them and are slowly moving toward him. He does not want to die, but does he really have a chance in surviving this incredible challenge? He thinks that he has a chance. Even if he did not have one, he does not have the choice of dying here. He will survive and save his companion. But that is not how it started. The story of Rise from Rubble starts with our hero visiting his father in jail. His father is a highly condemned criminal and his son has to face the ill will the people have toward him. The hero visits his father in jail and asks him to tell him the truth. He wants to cash in on the promise his father made long ago. Now he had met the condition for the promise to be fulfilled. He was a strong and independent adult. But his father does not say anything that he wants to hear. The son tries to remind him of what had happened, just to get him to react and give him a hint. The story began 15 years ago for his father. Terrible monsters ravaged the city they lived in, and at the end of the day, everyone lost their lives. All of them except one man. The survivor was Zuo Huey, the father of our hero, Zuo Fan. He had left the city on the day he was supposed to be saving it. It was the crime of the highest level and he was sentenced to be executed. But because of his service record, he was allowed a little time before his death. But that mercy was not extended to his son. His son was little at that time and had to face a lot of difficulties following this incident. His mother had died before that time and he had been on his own for all these years. But all his father said was that he was guilty of what had happened to the city and to his own son. But the past cannot be remedied and he should not tie himself to it. He urges his son to leave his terrible past behind him and start over in a distant city. The son furiously rejects his advice. He pledges to prove his innocence to everyone like he has pledged 1,000 times before. He had not endured the hatred and discrimination just to give up now. When he comes out, the guards stop him. They tell him that he had to pay more money to see his father from now on. After all, he was a hated criminal and it was not easy to meet him. They tell him it is the decision of the administration, but he is certain that they want to fill their pockets. He has no option but to silently agree. He is angry at them for calling a great man like his father a traitor, but he can only clench his fists. He had strived hard to clear his father's name and he was not going to stop now. Once out of the jail, he checks his stats. Mind, 11, physique, 8, strength, 8, agility, 16. Those stats were just average considering his age and experience. He realizes that his strength had stayed stagnant while other attributes increased. If nothing miraculous happened, he would be stuck like this forever. The money was tight and he had to risk his life every time he went out to work. Being a low-level Starfall warrior was not worth the danger and it did not provide much in the way of compensation. And now with the increasing demands of the guards, he might need to make some serious adjustments to his budget. Not visiting his father was out of the question. He needed to meet him regularly and carry on the investigation to prove his innocence. But to do that, he needed to take jobs above his level. There was always a higher risk of death in moving up, but there was only this way. The only other thing he had was a necklace his mother had gifted him on his birthday. It was precious, she used to tell him. It was made of the meteorite fragment from the day it all began. If he sold it, maybe he could get enough money to stay afloat for some time. But he immediately throws away that thought. With these thoughts, he heads for the mercenary guild where he works. He is not very welcome there and he knows it, but he cannot afford to pick a fight with everyone. They openly call him and his father names, but he does not react and heads straight to the mission room. There sits a fat bald man, whom he calls Uncle Gao. The hero asks him to give him an E-rank mission. The old man does not treat him coldly like the other people, but the old man is furious at this. He clearly tells the boy that he is not strong enough to survive a mission of that rank on his own. He would struggle with even an F-rank mission. After all, he is not even an official Starfall warrior yet, he was just a warrior reserve. But he pleads and begs and the old man has pity on him. He gives him a mission to be the scout for another party. Even though this mission was dangerous, but the money was good and it was safer than the other missions of the same rank. He is excited to get this opportunity and prepares himself. He finds the group of 6 people he is to join and he hopes that they are strong enough to do all the fighting. A girl there thinks that he is the one Uncle Gao recommended. She is the leader of the group and her name is Mu Yinyu. Interestingly, she looks like the girl he was with him in the starting scene, surrounded by monsters. He looks at her and realizes that she is an intermediate rank warrior, someone overqualified for this mission. How did he guess what rank was she? It was by looking at her equipment. Her sword had a monster core imbued into it, a rare item that increased the stats of the warrior by a huge margin. The equipment with monster cores were called Starfall equipment and only intermediate or higher level warriors were authorized to carry them. He introduces himself to her, hoping she does not realize he is the notorious traitor's son. He stretches his hand out for a handshake, but another man swoops in and squeezes it very tightly. The leader and other senior members of the party scold him for trying to bully the newcomer. He shrugs it off like it is no big deal, but then he throws a contract at him. It was thrown with power, but Zuo Fan is very fast and caught it. Everyone in the party is impressed by his senses and response time and they deem him fit to be a scout. An old man with a great shield compliments his skills and asks him to read his contract carefully before signing. But Zuofan is really excited about seeing the reward of $3,000 and probably doesn't bother to read the contract fully. He looks around and judges from the equipment and presence of the people that defeating monsters will be no big deal with them. After all, 2 of the 6 were intermediate-level warriors and even the others were well equipped. The time for monster hunting had finally come. The group headed to the E-rank monster den. Most of the areas outside of big settlements were now occupied by monsters. To keep humans safe, these areas were turned into restricted zones. Only those who chose to be warriors could enter these areas and fight them. But it was not easy at all. The monsters were vicious, some of them more feral than others. They differed in size, speed, strength, and other features, and thus they were classified into different ranks. And what was the worst thing for humans was that ordinary weapons were useless against them for the most part. They could evolve and mutate to become immune to any human weaponry in no time. The only thing that was effective against them was their own strength. Mankind had found a weapon in its greatest enemies. Their bones and claws were strong and durable, and furthermore, the monsters seemed to have no resistance to them. This had been the silver lining for many years. The stronger the monster, the more valuable and powerful the raw material obtained from killing it. This was what separated the stronger warriors from the weak ones, the quality and price of their equipment. The party enters one such restricted area in City X. The monsters they are fighting are E-rank monsters, fish lizards. Zuofan is the only one visible and he carefully looks at the monsters. He fires an arrow at a monster. His aim is precise, but he lacks the power to do any damage. The arrow bounces off the head of the monster without even scratching him. This enrages it and the monster begins running toward our hero. The herd of monsters nearby also joins the fray and the monsters are now pursuing him. Zuofan had never faced monsters of that level and he is intimidated by their strength and speed. But he has completed his task nicely. He is supposed to be a lure. He runs and the fish lizards follow him. They are quite fast and agile and he can barely keep ahead of them. Zuofan lures them into a building and one monster attacks him. The fish lizard monsters are fast and have very hard scales. Their teeth are their main weapon, but they also use their long tongues as a whip. But that is also one of their weaknesses. Zuofan knows this from the research he did before joining this mission. He dodges the attacks of the monster as he takes aim. He launches 3 arrows at the same time and hits the monster's outstretched tongue. He thinks that he damaged the monster, but it turns out that his weapons cannot damage even the weak points of the monster. There was no way he could fight them. He decides he should do what he is supposed to do. He leads the monsters to the place where the remaining warriors are waiting to ambush them. There, the 2 intermediate warriors have no difficulty slaying the monsters. The shielder stops their movement and Mu slices them into 2. It seems like the danger is over, but suddenly, the severed body of the fish lizard begins acting up. It had a mechanism to take out its attacker even if it lost its life. The upper half lunges at the novice warriors, and the man who tried to bully Zuofan earlier pushes him directly into the monster's path. The hero has no time to think and dodges the attack on instinct. As he gets away from the monster, he takes aim at its second weak point, the eyes. His attack succeeds this time and the rest of the work is done by Mu. He hears a voice, like that of a computer. It tells him that the host has slain an E-rank monster for the first time. The system is being initiated and adapted to the host. The voice is like a ringing in his ears and he is not sure if he actually heard something. But unknown to him, his necklace is undergoing some change. Night comes and the group is resting and talking about the day. The bully is still targeting Zuofan, who does not reply to his taunts. But the rest of the group is kinder than he expected them to be. Zuofan and Mu are paired to keep watch while the others are resting. They are making small talk when the ground beneath them suddenly splits up and they fall down. As the hero looks up, he sees a menacing shadow looking down on them. They find themselves in an abandoned subway tunnel 20 meters below their original position. Zuofan investigates and confirms that the collapse was natural. They could use the subway tunnels to get out and he was prepared for that. He had prepared for every possibility. Knowledge can be the tool of even the weakest of people. They both head towards a possible exit and Mu notices the presence of E-rank monsters around them. Zuofan could not hear anything, but she tells him that it is no surprise. She could only tell that because of her sword sense, a high-level ability only a few warriors have. The monsters attack them in a flock. Mu rushes ahead and tells Zuofan to stay back as he would only be a hindrance to her. She uses her special skill, Sword Sense Immersion. While using that, she looks like a divine maiden who is dancing and killing the monsters casually. None of them are able to lay a hand on her. Zuofan is impressed. He thinks her abilities are closer to an advanced rank Starfall warrior. While she mows down the monsters ahead, the remnants come toward him. But this time, he is prepared and takes care of the head jumping at him. When he kills it, he hears the same voice again. The host has slain another E-rank monster. System adaptation speed will increase, it says. Zuofan has no time to think about it and starts doing what he can to help out. When the monsters are defeated and they reach the exit, they find that it is blocked. Zuofan claims that it has been done by someone, but Mu points her sword at him. She looks serious as if she was going to kill him. He is worried and tells her that it was unbecoming of her to kill him just because she couldn't get out. But then she puts her sword down. She thought that he was the one doing all of this, but she changed her thoughts. From what she tells him, Zuo Fan realizes that maybe someone was targeting them. It must be someone from her family who doesn't want her to succeed. She is from a Starfall family, the name given to families that produce a lot of Starfall warriors, and they all have their rules and problems. Maybe someone was after her life, or all of this was just a challenge and test aimed at her evaluation. Mu asks him to find them another exit, one which would be harder to track. Zuo Fan had memorized all the subway tunnels and he soon finds something suitable. They are running towards the exit, but he slows her down. While he is resting, she asks him what does he need the money for. After all, there can't be another reason for him to be in this place. He tells her that she is right but can't bring himself to tell her that he needs it to save his father. Only 2 years were left before his execution and he had to prove his innocence before that. He remembers the good times when his mother was still alive. His parents loved each other very much, but one day his mother died in a minor monster attack, saving someone else. He was very small at that time and could not understand anything that happened. But he believed his father would never abandon the city. Not after he knew what it was like to lose someone to the monsters. He does not say anything and neither does his companion. The silence gets awkward and she withdraws from the conversation, apologizing for asking a personal and sensitive question. He tells her that he does not mind and they continue their journey toward the exit. They climb through holes and cracks and finally reach the surface. They are welcomed by a flurry of arrows. Mu Yinyu is able to notice the attack in time and even dodge it. She leaps at Zuo Fan and both of them fall inside where it is still safe. They stay there till the rain of arrows has stopped and Mu is groaning from pain. Zuo Fan asks her what is happening and she tells him that she could not evade all the arrows. One of them had found its target and hit her. And what was even more terrifying was that it was poisonous. Luckily for her, Zuo Fan had brought an antidote with him too. While he administers it, Mu begins speaking. Even in the dark, with almost no time to see outside, she had seen the face of the man behind all of this. She could not believe that she had been betrayed by her own uncle. The man she calls Uncle Han, who was someone she trusted with her life. He is the other intermediate rank warrior with the great shield. She never expected that it was actually he who did all this. He is standing on top of a cliff looking down at them. The other members of the party are also with him, and they are ready to kill the 2 people beneath them. Zuo Fan realizes that it was never a party or a trial. It was a detailed and elaborate ambush plan to kill the prodigy of the Mu family. Mu begins asking the man why did he do it. She reminds him that it was her father who saved his life and even let him join the family. What could have motivated him to betray them? He coldly replies that it was nothing personal, he just got a better deal. It is revealed that he is a greedy man who would stoop to the depths of hell to make a profit. But then he decides that the time to chat was over. He wanted to make sure his niece died here and did not have any means to survive. He detonates a bomb that was already planted in the area. It creates a huge explosion and the exit they are stuck in is engulfed by flames. If that was not enough, he asks the bully if he had completed his part. The bully says that everything has been taken care of. He has attracted all the monsters in the nearby area to this place, and even if the girl and the boy survive the blast, they will never survive the hordes of monsters. The man laughs at the completion of his plan. Everything was taken care of now. He could rest easy after blaming the death of the Mu family's genius daughter on Zuo Fan. It would not surprise anyone that the son of a traitor would walk on the same path. He could just tell everyone that they killed him, or that he could not exit his own trap. The group leaves and all the monsters in the area surrounded the burning exit. But the 2 survived by jumping down at the moment of the explosion. They survived the blast, but now they had gone back to the original problem. They had to get out of the tunnel system and the monsters were still there. Mu realizes that the monsters are targeting her. Zuo Fan says that the plan was made quite carefully, but he has not yet realized that the blame is going to be thrown at him. When Mu makes him realize it, he understands the gravity of the situation. If he was blamed for killing her, he could not save his father. It would also tarnish whatever was left of his family's name. This is his motivation to stay alive and keep Mu alive too. He supports the weakened Mu as they walk. But even though the poison is draining her energy, she is strong enough to take out the fish lizards. Zuo Fan notices that, but he is also aware that too much activity would nullify the effect of the antidote. He needs to find a way out soon. He concentrates while she fights and comes up with a solution. The way would be blocked, but they could break through the walls and find a way to the surface. They run to the exit and it is possible to leave. But the monsters on their tail are not going to let them leave so easily. Mu volunteers that she would keep the fish lizards at bay so Zuo Fan could make his way. He tries to object, but she tells him that it was the best they could do in this condition. With that, she leaps into the horde of monsters and starts hacking them away. As Zuo Fan looks at her fight the monsters, he cannot decide what to do. But it will all be revealed in time for the next video.